As you continue on with working with your profiles, one thing that I've failed to mention when you start working with your profiles is you should go to your components section over here and turn on your front axle and turn on your rear axle. If you notice, when those turn on, you've got little gray dots where the axle holes go through. These help guide you into where you are going to draw your lower profile especially, but it does help when you have your upper profile, and also helps when you do your top profile. So if you leave these two or turn these two on and leave them on throughout your creation of your profiles, it allows you to give you a better concept of where your car and how your car sits. So now we will work on the lower profile. We already have the upper profile that we just did. And the lower profile, to go work on that, we will do the same thing. We will turn on our lower profile. Again, nothing happens when we do it because we have not constructed anything yet. And then we will turn on our tools for that. If you noticed, the same tools come up, the same graph comes up here with measurements and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to continue with drawing the lower profile. The lower profile is underneath the CO2 cartridge hole, and it goes along the bottom of the car. Now we are going to especially focus on where these axle holes exist because we have to work around those. So I'm going to leave it at my lines, and I'm going to just add some points on here. Again, make sure your points are all the way back to the very back. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to just draw some lines here, and I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to tell you why here in a little bit we do this. And I'm just going to bring it up and just kind of come back down, and then come back down over here, and then to the end of the car, just like so. So now you can see I have my lower profile in with my dots, and I can still, if I want to, I can rearrange and I can move these up and down and change them a little ways and so on and so forth, so it makes it where I want it. So you can still do your adjusting and what have you. Couple things you're going to need to know when you do this profile is this particular dot, along with the dot here in the top profile, make sure that it is all the way to the very back and is on this dotted line. Otherwise, when you go to look at your specifications that you need to meet, it'll tell you that this CO2 cartridge hole is not deep enough because it thinks you're cutting through it. So take it all the way back, make sure it's all the way back. The other thing we need to do is where the axle holes exist, we need to make sure that our line that we're going to draw is all the way down to the bottom of the block also. So our line should be right along that dotted line also. So I always come down here and I kind of put it down here, but I'm just going to come down, and since I'm on move, I'm going to take it and I'm just going to make sure that pulls all the way down. I'm going to grab it, make sure that pulls all the way down. I know it's all the way down then. I'm going to do the same thing with this one and the same thing with that one. Just make sure it's all the way down. We need the axle hole to be near the bottom of the car like this. So I can't put it above the car. I can't do that because as of right now, you would cut this portion out. Your axle hole would not be in existence on your car. So we have to bring this down. Give yourself plenty of room in front and behind the axle hole, because when you cut your car out in reality, you may cut really close and you're going to need to put some stuff underneath your car here eventually. You'll find that out when we do our construction. But you need to have space underneath your car, underneath your axle hole. So leave space around that axle hole just like that. So right now you have your lower profile basically completed. You can still always go modify it according to your specifications, just like you can modify your upper profile. I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to apply it. I'm going to done. So now let's say if I wanted to go back and change one of these profiles, I just go back and turn on the tools for that profile, and then the dots come back in place. And now I can sit there and readjust some things, maybe tweak it just a little bit here and there, and so on and so forth. So, and I'm going to make sure that that's all the way back. And so now I got my design. I'm going to apply. Remember, always apply and always done when you're doing that. So now the one thing is we have, if you notice, we can look at both upper and lower profile at the same time so you can kind of see what the side of your car looks like. Okay. We're going to now go to the top profile. The top profile, that's going to turn your car and it's going to look at it differently. But before that, you need to shut off your two profiles. Okay. And then turn on my top profile. If I turn on my top profile, again, nothing happens. But as soon as I turn my tools on, it turns the block of wood, so now you're looking at it from the top view. So now you can see a completely different look of your car. You still have the same length, but your width is different. And if you notice, your width starts 0 in the middle, going to 20.635 to both sides. Same thing here. Leaving your axle holes in there, now you can see where your axle will go through your car, here and here. Whoops, I did not mean to do that, so I'm going to go and delete that. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go and design my profile of the car, my top profile. The nice thing is when I design my top profile, I can put my dot here, and I'll put a dot over here, and then if you notice, down here in the bottom, it mirrors the exact thing I just drew. So since it mirrors it, you only have to draw one side. It automatically draws it on the other side, so you don't have to try to match things up. So I put another dot over here, and I'll put a dot here, and then I'm going to get skinny in the middle, and then I'm going to go and put a dot over here and right here, and I'm going to bring it all the way out over here. So now I have that, and you can kind of see how my car is designed. Okay? One of the things you're going to want to look at, just like we did in the other one, where is the axle hole? And do I have, I'm going to change my move, do I have my body width as wide as the block? In other words, is this dot and is this dot and this dot and this dot all the way to those dotted lines, along with this dot being all the way to the back bottom line or back line. You need to give some space in front and behind each axle. Again, so when you cut, you're not end up accidentally cutting right through where the axle hole would be, because then your car is not the correct width. Now, one thing I want to point out here is I went and brought my car all the way out here, and it's roughly 286 millimeters or whatever out there, something like that. So I brought it all the way out there. I should pay attention to where my upper and lower profiles end. So in order for me to do that, first of all, I'm going to apply this, and I'm going to done. So now it only shows you half the car, which is fine. Okay? But I'm going to go shut that off, and I'm going to go to my lower profile, upper profile. I'm going to turn on one of them, doesn't matter which one. Now I'm going to look where my car ends. My car over here ends at 263. My top profile ends way over here. So those don't match up. We got to get them to match up. It is so much easier right now to do this, to take my top profile and just shrink it down to this measurement. So I can shrink it down to 263. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click done since I made no changes. I'm going to close these out, go back to my top profile, turn it on, and now I'm just going to take my end and move it back to 263. And then that's where my car ends, right there. So now I'm going to apply that and done. And again, as you go through, anytime you have any of these three tools on and you view it, if you do this here, sometimes it doesn't turn out quite right to look and see, because you can see these other lines in here and stuff like that. You probably don't ever want all three of them on. Always shut the top view when you're looking at the side view off, and always shut the upper and lower profiles when you're looking at the top view so you don't get confused by lines. So after you're all done designing and tweaking and stuff like that, you can then go and click done, and then we will continue on from there. But we will show you how to save these in the next video.